Monday brought to you by the Bridge Builder. Hello to all my College of Charleston grads. I'm repping my College of Charleston sweatshirt today. Today I want to continue to talk about the change checklist. So over the last few weeks, we've been talking about how to get changed and how to bring change into our lives. And so we talked about controlling what you can control. We talked about requiring passwords. Be careful who you let into your life. Then last week, we started talking about being ready for anything. And so today, I want to talk about allowing enough time for takeoff. So a few weeks ago, I got ready to go to Detroit, and I was sitting on a plane. And as I was sitting on that plane, we started to turn and prepare to go to the runway. And I began to think about that thing, and I began to question, I wonder how long it takes for a plane to actually get off the ground. And I began to think about all the things that would happen on the plane before we would get to the runway and before we would take off. And I thought about the fact that for many of us, that's where we are right now. We've had a year where we've been trying to take off. We've been trying to get our businesses to take off, our careers to take off, for some of us, our health to take off. And we've been trying to figure out ways to get to that place to where we can really take off and get to our goals and get to the things that we're trying to accomplish. And sometimes it's tough to take off. And so as I was on this plane and as I was watching all the things that was taking place, even though I've been on a plane many times, this day was different. I was on my way to Detroit and I was thinking about all the things that I was going to do there to kind of tell people about the Bridge Builder and try to get my business to take off, launching out to my own consulting practice and motivational practice and trying to get people motivated and trying to help companies with their culture. And I'm saying, how am I going to take off? And I began to watch all these people on the plane. And so today, I want to give you 3 tips in order to take off. 3 tips in order to take off. The first tip is this. You must be locked in. I was watching what was happening, and the flight attendants that were going around, they were checking our seat belts, they were making sure that everything was properly ready for takeoff. But then the announcement came on and it said, flight attendants, take your seat and prepare for takeoff. And then they too had to lock their seat belts in and be in a place where they were focused and ready to take off. For many of us, the reason that things aren't taking off in our lives is because we're not locked in. We're not focused enough on one specific thing. We're not focused enough in order to pursue that thing which we want. And so we have to make sure that we are completely locked in and we are prepared for takeoff. For some of you, you start one thing, then you start another. Then you step one way and then you step another way. Then you're 1 foot in and you're 1 foot out. It's kind of like the hokey pokey. You're not really locked in on anything. But even the flight attendants, they had to buckle their seat belts. They had to be seated and they had to be prepared for takeoff. For many of you, you got to zone your focus in. You got to zone your attention in on whatever your goals are. If you don't have them written down, write them down. If you don't have milestones in place, put milestones in place. If you don't have anybody connected to you that'll keep you focused, get somebody connected to you that'll keep you focused. But you have to be locked in order to be prepared for takeoff. The second tip for takeoff is you have to eliminate distractions. So I was thinking about the fact that even when they were preparing us for takeoff, our laptop had to be put up, our phones had to be cut off, all the bags had to be under the seat or locked into the overhead carrier. They made sure everything was eliminated out of the way so that nothing would get to flying around and moving around as they were preparing to take off, and they were making sure that our phones and devices were turned off so that nothing would affect the signal of the pilots as they were preparing to lift off. For some of you, you are locked in, but you still keep doors open, you keep things open, you keep things distracting you and in your periphery that won't allow you to stay truly focused and be prepared for takeoff. So for some of you, you got too much baggage. You got to put that baggage under your seat. You got to lock that thing away. For some of you, you have too many distractions on social media, too many people texting you and grabbing you and getting your attention. There's some days I can't get anything done because every time I start trying to focus, somebody will text me, somebody will call me. Even on Motivational Monday, my phone just rang. It's because you have too many distractions in your life. You got to make sure that you cut all these distractions out. You eliminate these distractions so that you can be prepared to take off. The third tip for takeoff. So you have to make sure that you're locked in. You have to make sure that you eliminate distractions. Tip number 3 is you have to make sure that you keep pressing in order to pick up speed. So I was thinking about this thing, and I said there has to be a distance between the runway and the takeoff point. And depending on the size of the plane, the runway is either 6,000 or 8,000 feet. So these pilots know that when I get to the 6,000 feet point, or if I'm on a bigger plane, when I get to the 8,000 feet point, it's going to be time for us to lift off the ground. For some of you, you don't have your goals focused enough, and you don't have yourself calculated enough to know when liftoff is coming. So you quit too early. You throw in the towel too quickly. There are businesses inside of you that you put to the wayside because you didn't keep pressing and you didn't keep picking up speed. There's a job you could have had, but you stopped sending out resumes because 2 or 3 people told you no. All you need is one yes in your life. There are many of you, the bank said no, so you're still living in an apartment even though you hadn't focused on getting your credit together to buy that house. There are many of you, your health is waiting on you to get back in the gym and get yourself back focused, but you quit too early. You got to keep pressing and you got to keep pushing in order for you to lift off. The pilots know that at the 6,000 to 8,000 feet point, it's going to be time for that plane to lift off the ground. My question to you today is, when is it going to be time for you to lift off? Have you calculated so intricately all your goals and all your focuses that you'll know it's almost time for me to lift off? I hope you're focused today. I hope you're motivated today. I hope you're allowing enough time to take off. I hope you'll take these 3 tips by being locked in, eliminating distractions, and keep on pressing and keep on pushing. This is Motivational Monday, brought to you by The Bridge Builder. Yeah, I was sick today. Yeah, I had some technical difficulties today, but it does not matter because I'm allowing enough time for myself to take off. I hope you'll join me next week. I hope you'll share this video because as long as there's a Monday, we'll be motivating you. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Take care of yourself.